So my name is Bianca. I'm really happy to be here. I'm going to talk to you for 10 minutes, and I'm going to try not to talk fast. Before I start, I want to say that I respect all of your time a lot, and so I'm going to cut to the chase and get directly into a personal story, because I think I threw away what I was going to say, because I can respond to some of what Ravi opened up with, which is lovely. And I want to say two things. When I'm here, thank you for having me, but also thank you for being here. We need to have some hard conversations with each other right now. It's 2019. White nationalism is on the rise. We are in a climate emergency. These things are directly related to each other, although sometimes we like to treat them as separate problems. There are things that I know are problems in Toronto, and there are things that I know are problems in Europe. I don't know enough about your city to understand too much how much you live these problems here. So if there's one thing I'd like to do today with you is to remind you that you all have power, and you all need to start using it now. There is no grand project you're going to be part of that's going to resolve all of these issues. It's every day. And to respond to something Ravi said, I think one of the hardest things for all of us living in the world together is always to hold on to two truths at the same time. So the two truths that I'd like to share with you is that while it's wonderful to look at individuals and projects and special things that we work on where we raise heroes and leaders, we also need to remember the power, the importance, and the absolute urgency to operate as a collective, as a group, as a room of people, as a city, as a neighborhood, as friends, as a nation, as the world. And my great fear right now is that we forget how much power we have. I'm going to give you a little urban story that reminds me of this. I just got my driver's license 5 years ago. So I'm 40. I got it when I was 35. And there's something that happens, and for me when I drive, it's magical. Now, this may not translate properly to this city, but in Toronto, when the sirens start to go, you know what everybody does? Do you do the same thing here? You all pull over? We know when there's an emergency, sometimes we all have to do the thing. We don't stop. We're not like, maybe it's not really an emergency. Actually, I don't know. What do you guys think? It's an emergency? We don't do that. We all act because we have a social norm. It's also, I don't even know if it's law. But it always is beautiful to me because in that moment, we together, people who don't know each other, decide that we're going to move out of the way to let the person who is struggling have a better chance. They might die. We need to do our thing. And this is just a tiny little story for me and a reminder that we know how to do that. We know how to act together. And my greatest fear as we face all of the things that we're facing together in 2019 is that we're forgetting that we have collective power. And so the reason I'm here today, and I will tie this to my work in Toronto, is because I think we are at a critical time to rebuild, empower, believe in, and trust our institutions, primarily our governments, and particularly our city governments. The things that we have to face right now, believe me, we can't go at them alone. We know this. You cannot change your light bulbs and change your straws and deal with injustices as an independent. That thing is not true. So in order to do the kinds of things we need to do together, we're going to have to remember the power of our collective institutions. And we need to trust each other and trust them and spend time to make them powerful. So the reason this ties into my work in Toronto, and I'm going to tie it to design, is because, has anyone here heard of the Sidewalk Labs project? A few of you. So in 2017, Waterfront Toronto, which is not the government, but it's representative of government, they put out a tender in the city of Toronto to ask for people to build a smart neighborhood. And actually, they didn't even ask for a smart neighborhood. They asked for innovation and technology. And it was a little plot of land with some opportunity to build out. And in 2017, Sidewalk Labs, who is a sister company to Google, they both are children of Alphabet, won that bid. And so for 2 years, I have been working with others to advocate for the people in the city and for the role of the government. Because my fear right now is that corporations are beginning to sound a lot like governments. And sometimes I can't believe that I have to remind people this. They do not operate on the same basis. So when you hear that corporations want to work on climate change, they absolutely do. And they are going to be part of the solution. When you hear that corporations want to work on city building, they absolutely do. And they will be part of the solution. But when we need to talk about the people who need the floor raised, the people that need food, the people that need housing, the people that need transit infrastructure, and it's not profitable as an undertaking, when I heard the question about what are we going to do for everybody, that is the role of the state. And so what I have up here is some artwork. It took a long time for residents in Toronto to confidently assert that the way this smart city project was going on was blending these roles too much. You had a company, and I was at an event where I had the CEO of Sidewalk Labs sitting here, the CEO of Waterfront Toronto sitting here, neither of them elected, neither of them accountable to me. And if you would close your eyes and ask them why they were there, you know what they would say? To improve the quality of your life. It's not untrue, but it's not the whole story. And so for me, it's been 2 years of participating in this project to try to understand how do we make sure that we keep these roles straight. Design has been an incredible handmaiden to delivering dreams that may not be coming from the state, that may be coming from designers and from the private sector, which is beautiful, but can be very, very confusing. So, when we're talking about smart cities and we're talking about technology, I just want to share this concern I have, which is, this is the moment, and this is the great success of working on this project in Toronto, this is the moment for institutions, governments, and people to know that if we don't build up our democracies right now, it is highly likely that people with power are going to decide they're not working well enough, and we're going to do workarounds. We're going to do something a bit different. We're going to privatize this thing over here because it'll be more convenient. We're going to do this thing over here because it'll be a better user experience because the state just can't get it together. And that story's been going on for a while. Technology, as we've seen with Uber and Airbnb and other companies, doesn't have to go through the government. It goes straight to the people. People start liking it, people start using it, and then it gets very difficult to untangle in terms of how is it working? How do we regulate this? What do we do about it? That's not by accident. And so the design of process in democracy is critical. We need to work out some hard things about our policies, our laws, collective caring for each other, how we regulate all of our spaces to make sure we do that. That has to happen between people and their elected governments. And if we don't do it now, we're going to have a harder time every year that passes. So my plea to all of you is to participate in these spaces very thoughtfully and to remember that right now there is a moment for cities to rise, to protect from the worst instincts of states, which right now can be pretty bad, and come together as a collective to work on these issues we have in our cities. And what I'm going to share with you here is I had a designer help me I was so angry at what was happening, and they said, hey, you need beauty, you need fun. We can have fun in our democracy. We can have hard conversations with joy and with love. I think it's our responsibility. Let's just make sure that we're addressing and using design for both of these things and keeping those things clear. And I'll love to have more of this conversation with my friends that'll be joining me soon. Thank you for your time.